So today we're joined by Albert, Dylan, and Islam of Las Cruces for Palestine. Thank you guys so much for coming today. How are y'all feeling?
How are y'all feeling today?
Good. Thank you for having us.
So Tony's going to ask you a few questions. Go ahead and put your headphones on.
I'm too far away in this booth, but there you go. Would you guys please tell us a little bit about yourselves and your roles with Las Cruces for Palestine?
Yeah, so I'm Dylan. I'm one of the organizers with Las Cruces for Palestine. I am a student at New Mexico State University and a community member of Las Cruces.
I'm Albert. I'm also one of the organizers for Las Cruces for Palestine. And yeah, any way that I can help with the stuff that we're doing, I just do anything I can.
Islam Omar. I'm a student at NMSU. And all I'm trying to do with organizations just to help as much as I can in anything, just to let the people know about what is happening right now.
All right. Thank you. And what is the mission for Las Cruces for Palestine?
So we formed as a group in January of this year, and we started off by maintaining silent protests in front of City Hall, where we would write down the individual names of Palestinian martyrs on a really long sheet of paper. We were out there for multiple hours a day for about a week straight, and still were unable to write down all of the names of the martyrs that had been murdered up until that time. We began with just 7 people showing up the first day and gradually started increasing our numbers. And the following Saturday, we decided when we were meeting up to go ahead and take our march to the market to raise more awareness. And ever since then, we've been doing weekly marches at the farmers market downtown. We've been holding actions on campus and around town, as well as vigils for martyrs as well. And our goal is just to bring awareness to the ongoing genocide that has been occurring in Palestine for 76 years now, and just bring awareness in this part of the world.
It's always lovely to work with a community and people that also understand the situation. So speaking of which, what is the current situation in Palestine? Is it a conflict or a war?
So all this depends on how you define a conflict or a war. So all what we are seeing right now since day one, at least for me, since 1917, since this agreement between British Empire and Israel to give them a land, and they promised them to give them a land without a people, and Palestine, we know for sure it was a land with people. And from 1948, we cannot see anything as a conflict, because when we say there is a conflict, we know that there's 2 parts, at least equivalent to some level. Both of them have armies. Both of them are looking for something, looking for a target. But all what we're seeing from 1948 is just an ethnic cleansing. Exactly in that date, we saw 500 villages being cleaned from their people by killing and being pushed out of their houses. But boys, children being killed everywhere. And the first intifada and the second one, or the uprising as we call it in English, we just saw children throwing tanks with stones. And what is the reaction of that tank? It's just killing them with bullets. How can you call this a conflict when you just see children being killed for just throwing a stone? And actually, even by the international law, when you call a conflict, then you have some moralities, you have some law that you need to follow during this conflict, and you start to have some idea what is really happening on the ground. But from all what we're seeing, actually, is just one part is just trying to kill as much as they can from the second part, which even doesn't have even a country. Until now, it is not formally. There is no country called Palestine until this day, even though both of them, the UN, in 1948, and after that, they decided to just split the land between Israel and Palestine. But until now, we can see just one country, and the other side is just being called terrorists for resisting the killing of their children. And they don't even, until now, they don't have a country. There is no country called Palestine. So, as I said before, what is your definition of conflict? And you can go from this point to tell No, actually, it's just one part that has all the ammunition, the international support, and even they are breaking the international law every day with all what they're doing and what we're seeing on television, on videos, without anyone telling us. We are seeing by our own eyes that children are being killed every day, and we don't know the casualties until now. And even if I can't even call it casualties, because when you say it's a casualty, it means that you are targeting someone else. But actually, they are targeting civilians. And it's so obvious for anyone who can see from the first moment, they are targeting houses. They say there's terrorists inside these houses. But can you tell us how many, if you're really following the law or the international law that you are pretending to say that you are the most professional, civilized army in the world? So prove that. Tell us, where is the conflict actually? Why until now you're not even in the West Bank? Where is the terrorists in the West Bank? And still, from day one, they'll at least like thousands of people are being killed every year in the West Bank. So all this doesn't say anything about a conflict or a war. It's just one side trying to kill as much as they can from the other side to take all of the land. So yeah, I hope this was clarifying enough.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hey, Billy?
Thank you. On May 9th, according to the Las Cruces News Sun, 11 NMSU students were arrested after entering Hadley Hall on NMSU campus, submitting demands for the NMSU president and administration to publicly support a ceasefire on the Gaza Strip, and then protesting peacefully for a response after the building had closed. Can you give us more details about your demands to NMSU, and why do you feel NMSU has a responsibility to meet those demands?
So the students of New Mexico State University wanted to join in on the national and global movement of student activism occurring around this genocide that is occurring as we speak. So we were really following the lead of other colleges around the world, basically calling on our university to disclose all investments and divest from all companies and institutions that profit from the genocide happening in Palestine. So we feel like New Mexico State University has a responsibility to meet these demands because we are paying tuition to these schools. We are attending these schools. We are students of these schools, and we will graduate and have our diplomas with the name of New Mexico State University on our diploma. And we don't want our tuition dollars going to fund a genocide. And we feel that it is the obligation of New Mexico State University and universities around the world to do everything in their power to divest from this genocidal regime that's happening in Israel right now.
Do you currently have information on the companies that NMSU has invested in that are currently funding what is happening in Palestine currently?
Yes. So one of our other demands was to disclose all of these financial investments. Once we presented these demands to New Mexico State University administration, they came back to us a few days later with a letter stating that they had done research and found no investments or any programs that aid Israel in any way. It took us about 5 minutes to do a Google search and find an entire page on the New Mexico State University website disclosing numerous programs that directly involve Israel. Since then, we have done more investigation into these institutions that go into Israel. So currently, New Mexico researchers at New Mexico State University are involved in projects with Israel and funded by the U.S.-Israel Binational Science Foundation. New Mexico State University is listed as receiving grant money from the U.S.-Israel Foundation. NMSU hosts the Israel Faculty Fellowship in the Global Initiatives Program, which pays faculty to travel to Israel. A previous chancellor, Dan Arvisu, and current interim provost, Lakshmi Reddy, visited Israel to seek research partnerships. In 2020, NMSU entered into research partnerships with Telia and Indrip, two Israeli agro-technology companies working on irrigation systems. So this was one of the main issues that we found with New Mexico State University investments is these irrigation systems that directly contribute to water apartheid in Palestine. So these in context, this allows Israel to control the water and over the Palestinians' access to water, and we directly fund these irrigation research projects that are occurring right now. And these are just a few that we were able to find. New Mexico State University and other universities around the world do a really good job at hiding these investments, and they keep these secret for a reason. And New Mexico State University is a land-grant institution, and these investments should be made public. And that was one of our demands, and that's one of the demands that they are refusing to meet.
Thank you. We have a question from one of our Lab Radio volunteers.
Yes, this is our volunteer Angel. You had a question?
Yes, so my question was, why did you choose the locations that you did for the protest, and did it matter if it was that location or not?
So this was after a whole week of encampment and discussions with the administration that really led to only empty promises and false statements. NMSU presented themselves as an administration that wanted to handle things differently and set an example for neighboring colleges and the rest of the country. But this was all a lot of talk with no action. Very few steps when it came to disclosure, divestment, and one of the main things that we wanted was a ceasefire statement that doesn't take long to make. This is an urgent situation, and it still didn't happen. So after a whole week of false dialogue, we realized that we needed to make ourselves less avoidable and more noticeable. We knew that President Torres was going to be at Hadley Hall. So we decided that would be the appropriate place to have a peaceful demonstration, calling for a ceasefire and more acknowledgement of the rest of our demands.
And how do you think this impacted your goals to send the message further?
We definitely got their attention. I mean, I wish President Torres would have been open to have dialogue and take action on our demands. Situation was escalated by police presence. It was a group of protesters who were sitting peacefully, singing with a clear demand. And it was NMSU's decision to call on the police that escalated the violence to these arrests and even one protester being hospitalized. She was there. She decided to go out the back door.
And can you give some historical context regarding the significance of student protests?
Yes. So student activism has been one of the leading forces to change in the political sphere in the United States and around the world. And it starts back in the 1940s with students protesting raises in tuition during the Great Depression. It goes on to continue during the 1940s with students protesting on campus to protest military training programs that were occurring on their campus. In the 1950s, the civil rights movement was risen because of student activists. The Greensboro Four were a group of 4 college students who chose to sit in at a lunch table and protest segregation. And they actually led to the creation of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which did lead to changes in the Jim Crow era. And student activism continued throughout the 1960s and 70s during the Vietnam War protests, which did in turn also end violently in several cases, deadly on Kent State campus when the National Guard murdered 4 students during a peaceful protest. The National Guard unleashed rounds into a crowd of students, injuring many and murdering 4, just for protesting an unjust war, similarly to the way that we are protesting this genocide that is occurring right now. Students are capable of causing actual change in this country and bringing awareness to situations that people try to just ignore and pretend like aren't happening. And that's the impact of student activism in history.
Hi. So I have a question, but first I'd like to thank y'all for coming in and taking the time to come speak to us today. I can only imagine how difficult it's been to organize and advocate. So my question is, what kind of progress have you made with your efforts, and what are some of the obstacles you've faced?
So for the goals, actually, we had just one main goal, at least like for me, when I can speak for myself, it's to let the people know more and be bold about what they're asking for and what they're seeing right now, and they shouldn't be silenced under any circumstances to say that this is wrong. What's happening is wrong and shouldn't continue under any circumstances. And for the obstacles, actually, the main one and the very hard fact that we found, that people are always afraid to lose their titles. People are always just like looking for. At the beginning, I was trying to have like very good faith when I'm like communicating with the people in authority, saying that they just like don't know, they don't see the news that much. Actually, no, they know, and they know as a fact what's happening, and they know it's a genocide. But the problem, they cannot see it publicly because they are just scared that they will lose their authority or lose their position. Their paycheck will be smaller because of that, of doing this, of supporting the truth. So this is our main obstacle, that the people in authority are just like scared to say the truth. That's it. Even the people we know, even the people we don't know, they support us everywhere, by any way they can, by their time, by their money, by even their tents. People are just like giving us their tents, just like, okay, we have more blankets for you if it's cold. People are just like, they know what's happening. They know what is humanity. But once you're in authority, they think you have more to lose. But they don't know that all this will be remembered and everything is being archived. So, yeah.
Okay, another question I have is, why is it important that Las Cruces and NMSU publicly call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire?
So, in times like these, where there's an illegal occupation going on and an ongoing genocide in Palestine that is being funded by U.S. tax dollars, on a humanity level, we have the responsibility to take a stand. We can't normalize being complicit with genocide. And there are very serious consequences to our inaction that are showcased every day. On a state level, New Mexico approved $13 million in support of Israel's weapons. And if the humanity level is not enough justification to call for a ceasefire, then with that money, over 1,500 households with public housing for a year could have been built in New Mexico. Over 4,600 children could have received free or low-cost health care. We could have hired 145 more elementary school teachers. And we could have provided almost 38,000 households with solar electricity produced for a year. Even on a state level, there's no reason why we should have blood in our hands when there are issues that are taking place in New Mexico that we need to prioritize. We shouldn't be investing in war, in killing, and in an illegal occupation that has been taking place for almost 80 years. On NMSU, there is a responsibility to stand on the right side of history. Again, inaction has consequences. We need to stand on the right side. There's a group of people who are being ethnically cleansed, displaced. It is important. There's like community at NMSU, as we saw during the encampment, that support us, and we have the responsibility to stay on the right side of history, even for future generations, young kids, neighboring schools. A statement from NMSU sets a standard for the rest of the country and for neighboring universities, and also stays true to what they presented to us in the beginning, with wanting to handle this differently than other institutions and wanting to be a lighthouse. As they have treated the situation so far, they have simply been added to a list of colleges that have brutalized and arrested their students. There's still a chance to shift the path in which they're on, but at this point, it's not just standing on the right side of history, it's a correction. And their actions matter. And the urgency by which they respond also matters.
And I have one more question. I was just wondering if you all could tell us, what are your hopes for the future in regards to freeing Palestine?
Well, at a local level, we are still pushing New Mexico State University to divest and pull funding from their programs that support Israel and the ongoing genocide. We hope that in our city, we can encourage the Las Cruces City Council to pass a ceasefire resolution. We have been working on that for months, and we will be representing that. At a state level, we are calling on our state representatives to also call for a ceasefire. We have many representatives who have voted in favor of supplying more funding to military occupation in Palestine. And as our representatives, we hope to continue putting the pressure on them to listen to what their constituents have to say about where we want their votes to go and how we want them to represent us, considering we are the ones who voted them into power in the first place. And ultimately, we just want to continue raising awareness and keeping the eye on Palestine and all of the Palestinians in Gaza who are being ethnically cleansed.
I have a question before we sort of wrap this up with some more information about Las Cruces for Palestine. So you all are students at an institution that you feel is not listening to you, and you all are matriculating in different concentrations in the school. Let's look towards the future, right? Let's look toward 5-7 years when you all have graduated and you have taken positions of power in different institutions based on your concentration. In order to not only, hopefully this doesn't continue too much longer, but let's say it does continue or another situation pops up similar. In your concentrations, how do you see yourself taking the power to prevent things like this from happening in the future?
We can say that at this point that whatever we're doing now, whatever we grow doing, will affect our decisions in the future. So when we grow up, teaching ourselves how to have a very effective and a very accurate humanitarian campus, that we can decide which side we should be taking, which side we should support. If we grow up, which we're doing right now, doing the right things, and pushing ourselves to teach the people and take the side of who is being oppressed, I know for sure in the future we will be taking the right decisions. So it's all about what we're doing right now. That's all what we have. The future will be decided by what we're doing right now. So when we stand right now, everyone will remember those people were standing for Palestine. And in the future, and the people being oppressed, actually, it's not about the country, it's not about the flag. It's about humans being killed every day for years. And no one is listening to them. No one even trying to listen. And so whatever we're doing now is defining who we will become.
Thank you.
All right. And also, what sources of information or media can you share with those in our listening audience who would like to learn more about the dire situation in Palestine?
From day one, we were asking everyone who comes and approaches us to just go and just teach yourself, learn more about the Holocaust, and from day one, what's happening, how everything is going, and how to be more critical about what you're listening for and whatever you're reading, and just don't let anyone just put anything in your brain and pick a side based on someone's opinion. So one thing I would really suggest is just try to have some historical background from whatever resource you would rely on, and at the same time I would really recommend Al Jazeera English, not because they are Arab, not because anything else, just because they are the only people on ground and they're actually giving you videos from what's happening. And I would also recommend Democracy Now!, which is really very unbiased channel, and you can find them on multiple social media platforms. And lastly, I would, for whoever wants to know more about the whole genocide, the whole Intifada, the uprisings, and the whole history, I would really recommend the Electronic Intifada.com. It's a website. You will find a lot of very good, authenticated, and reliable resources to learn more about the whole cause.
Right.
Hi, so wonderful to have you all here with us. This is Lamaya, and I am so happy that the lab crew has come together to form these interview questions and produce this radio hour. I have a question. I come from a different generation. I come from the generation of Desert Storm, opposing Desert Storm. And I grew up during Vietnam War, and my parents and people were students at University of New Mexico. They were opposing the Vietnam War. And I keep seeing the same theme repeating itself, and that is that we do not see other human beings as human beings. And I cannot understand why the military industrial complex continues to win. It's because of our media. And here we are on the media. We're using the media for good. And so I have a very humanistic, basic question to ask you. Why does our society think it is better and more noble to be racist than to be anti-Semitic? Why is not anti-Semitic beliefs racist? And how can true believers of any religious teaching condone the killing of another human being?
So I would start from a very good line from a Nobel Prize winning novel. It's called The Sons of Allah. It's saying that the curse of our neighborhood is oblivion. People used to forget. From the Desert Storm, from 9/11, from all the terminology that humans came up with, like Islamophobia, whoever is Muslim is a terrorist, period. It's a very, people just like, most of the time they just like, either they forget how they were being treated before and how the same silly reasons the authorities come up with to take advantage of the people and the democracy, to take some like personal benefits from all this, make use of the system that put them in power. So yeah, for losing any like humanitarian rights and not to start labeling people, it's easy. That's actually my very short answer. It's easy. Just like he's Arab, he's ignorant. This guy he's Muslim, he's a terrorist. It's a very easy option. But would you at least think for a moment, for example, the anti-Semitic thing? Can you think for a moment that Semitic, it means all those who come from Semitic religions, like Muslims, Jews, and Christians. So, and specifically the Arabs, actually, because all these regions come from the Arab regions. So a basic thing to say, no Arab can be anti-Semitic. But this is the game of the media. And we got used to it. Zionists are very, very good, smart people when it comes to narrative crafting. We know that about them. So, but the people... and actually, another thing I would like to say, how they make use of crisis. Like once 9/11 happens, yeah, it was very terrifying for anyone once you see it. But the people in power, they don't see any humans there. They didn't see it. They saw it as a chance to invade Afghanistan. They saw it as a chance after that, to even invade Iraq. So they're just like, but the people at that very specific moment were very emotional. They didn't see how they would be manipulated using the system. So yeah, all this, it's just like, we can just like avoid all this by bringing more people, just like have all the people around you, have more Muslims around you, have more Jews around you, know more about the people around you, just like talk, ask them, are you anti-Semitic? Ask him. Ask anyone you face. Just like try to know more about the people. Don't let anyone tell you what they are what the Arabs look. They're still using camels in the Arab countries. No, actually, no, they have cars, very expensive ones. So yeah, just don't let anyone tell you how to see the people. Just look by yourself.
So to continue the conversation about the